Reading from the 36th chapter of the book of Isaiah from the Dead Sea Scrolls Bible. It reads, in the 14th year of King Hezekiah, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came against all the fortified cities of Judah and took them. The king of Assyria sent Rabshakeh from Lachish to Jerusalem to King Hezekiah with a very large army. He stood by the conduit of the upper pool on the highway of the fuller's field. Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, who was over the household of Shebna the scribe, and Joha the son of Asaph the recorder came out to him. The Rabshakeh said to them, say to Hezekiah, king of Judah, thus says the great king, the king of Assyria, what is this source of confidence that you yourself are trusting in? Do you think that words alone equate to counsel and strength for battle? Now in whom do you trust that you have rebelled against me? Indeed, you are depending on Egypt, that broken reed of a staff, which pierces the palm of anyone who leans to sit on it, for anyone who leans on it. So is Pharaoh king of Egypt to all who trust in it. But if you say to me, we trust in Jehovah Elohim, is he not the one whose high places and altars Hezekiah removed, after which he said to Judah and Jerusalem, you will worship before this altar in Jerusalem? Come now, make a wager with my lord, the king of Assyria. I'll give you 2,000 horses if you're able to select riders for them. How can you reject one captain from among the least of my master's servants and entrust yourselves to Egypt for chariots and horsemen? Now do you think that it is without the Lord that I have come up against this land to destroy it? It is the Lord, the Jehovah, who said to me, go up to this land to destroy it. Then Eliakim and Shebna and Joah said to him, please speak with your servants Aramaic, since we understand it, but do not speak this message so that the men sitting on the wall can hear. Rabshakeh said, was it to you and against you, Lord, that my Lord sent me to speak this message? Was it not rather against the men sitting on the wall who will have to eat their own dung and drink their own urine with you? Then Rabshakeh stood and called out with a loud voice in Judean. He said, listen to the words of the great king, the king of Assyria. Thus says the king of Assyria, do not let Hezekiah deceive you, for he will not be able to deliver you. Do not let Hezekiah compel you to trust in Jehovah, thinking that Jehovah will surely deliver us, and this city will not be given into the power of the king of Assyria. Do not listen to Hezekiah, for thus says the king of Assyria, make your peace with me and come out to me. Then everyone will eat from his vine and everyone from his fig tree, and everyone will drink water of his own cistern, until I come and take you to a land like your own, to a land of grain and wine, a land of bread and vineyards. Beware lest Hezekiah persuade you by saying, Jehovah will deliver us. As any of the gods of the nations saved his land from the power of the king of Assyria, were the gods of Hamath and Akkad, were the gods of Sepharvaim, have they saved Samaria from my power? Which among all the gods of those countries have delivered their country from my power, except Jehovah might deliver Jerusalem from my power? But they did not speak or answer at all, for the king's command was, do not respond to me. Then Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, who was over the household, Shebna the scribe, and Joah the son of Asaph the recorder, came to Hezekiah with a full sword and reported the words of Rabshakeh to him. When Hezekiah the king heard this, he rent his clothes, covered himself with sackcloth, and went into the house of Jehovah. He sent Eliakim, who was over the household, and Shebna the scribe, and the elders of the priests, covered with sackcloth, to the prophet Isaiah, the son of Amos. They said to him, thus says Hezekiah, this is a day of trouble, and of rebuke, and of disgrace. For the children are at the point of birth, where there is no strength to bring them forth. Perhaps Jehovah Elohim will hear the words of the Rabshakeh, whom the king of Assyria, his master, has sent to scorn the living Elohim, and will rebuke the words which Jehovah your Elohim has heard. Therefore lift up a prayer for the remnant that is left in the city. So the servants of Hezekiah came to Isaiah, and Isaiah said to them, Thus you will say to your master, Thus says Jehovah, do not be afraid of the words that you have heard, those with which the servants of the king of Assyria have blasphemed me. Behold, I will put a spirit in him, and he will hear a rumor, and he will return to his own land. I will make him fall by the sword in his own land. So Rabshakeh returned and found the king of Assyria fighting Libnah, for he heard that he had left Lachish. He heard a report about Dishak, king of Ethiopia. He is coming out to fight. When he heard this, he returned and sent messengers to Hezekiah, saying, Say this to Hezekiah, king of Judah, do not let your God in whom you trust deceive you by saying, Jerusalem will not be delivered into the power of the king of Assyria. Indeed, you have heard what the kings of Assyria have done to all lands, absolutely annihilating them. Will you be rescued? Have the gods of the nations rescued them, those nations which my father destroyed, Gozan, Haran, Resreth, and the people of Edom who were at Telazar? Where is the king of Hamath, the king of Arpad, the king of Eliah, the king of Sepharim, and of Nar, Ira, and Samaria? Hezekiah received the letters from the messengers and read them. Then Hezekiah went to the house of Jehovah and spread it out before Jehovah. Hezekiah prayed to Jehovah, saying, Jehovah Tesabahu Elohim Israel. Enthroned above the cherubim, you alone are Elohim, above all the kingdoms of earth. You made heaven and earth. Incline your ear, Jehovah, and listen. Open your eyes, Jehovah, and see. Listen to every word of Shenarechit, in which he sent to mock the living Elohim. Surely Jehovah, the kings of Assyria, have devastated all the lands, and they have cast their gods into the fire, for they are not gods, but works of human hands, wood and stone. Thus they have destroyed them. Now, Jehovah our Elohim, I will save us from his power, so that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that you alone, Jehovah, are Elohim. Then Isaiah the son of Amoz sent to Hezekiah, saying, Thus says Jehovah, the God of Israel, to whom we prayed, about Shenarechit, the king of Assyria. This is the word which Jehovah spoke concerning him. The virgin daughter of Zion has despised you and mocked you. The daughter of Jerusalem has shaken her head at you, whom you have mocked and blasphemed. Against whom have you raised your voice and arrogantly lifted up your eyes? Against the Holy One of Israel. By your service you have reviled my Lord, and said with many chariots, I myself have climbed the highest mountains to the farthest parts of Lebanon, where I cut it down its tallest cedars, its choicest cypresses. I entered into highest points, its most fertile forests. I myself cried out and drank foreign waters, and with the sole of my foot I dried up the rivers of Egypt. Did you not hear how in the distant past I decided to do it? In the ancient times I planned it. Now I have made it happen that fortified cities should become devastated. Besieged sheep, their inhabitants had little power. They were dismayed and ashamed. They were wild plants, grassy sprouts, grass on the roof, scorched by the east wind. But I know you're rising up and sitting down. You're going out and coming in, and you're raging against me. I have heard of your arrogance, so I will put my hook in your nose and my bit on your lips. I will turn you back on the way on which is destruction. This will be the sign for you. Eat this year what grows of itself, and the second year what springs from that. In the third year, sow seed, reap, plant vineyards, and eat their fruit. The scapees of the house of Judah will gather it, and those who are found will take root below ground and bear fruit above. For a remnant will go forth out of Zion, and escapees from Jerusalem. The zeal of Jehovah Sabaoth will perform this. Therefore, thus says Jehovah concerning the king of Assyria, He will not enter the city, nor build up a siege mound against it, nor shoot any arrow there, nor oppose it with a shield. By the way he came, he will return. He will not enter the city, says Jehovah. I will defend the city to save it, for my own sake and for my servant David's sake. Then the angel of Jehovah went out and struck 185,000 in the camp of the Syrians. When the morning came, there they were all of them dead bodies. So Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, broke camp, left and returned, and remained at Nineveh. As he was worshipping in the temple of Nisroch, his god, his sons Admelech and Shashter struck him down with a sword and escaped to the land of Ararat. And his son Eshalon reigned in this place.